session, June 18th, 2024. Roll call.
Roll call. Kistler,
Here.
Gage,
Here.
Zingy,
Here.
Matani,
Here.
Flora,
Here.
Gass,
Here.
Finnegan.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Ketchikan City Council would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional First People of this land in Ketchikan, the Tontaquan, Sanyuquan, the Tongass Tlingit people. Communications, we have, actually, I'd like to thank everyone who sent in emails. We had quite a few letters in our emails. And then I have a proclamation for Juneteenth. Whereas the residents, businesses, and governmental institutions of the city of Ketchikan, Alaska are firmly committed to celebrating and promoting diversity, inclusion, and cultural traditions of our city's communities. And whereas Juneteenth is a worldwide celebration which commemorates the end of slavery in the United States of America. And whereas initially a regional celebration popular in Texas and neighboring states, Juneteenth grew to become a national event during which African American communities gathered to share in the spirit of the day, featuring outdoor activities, food, prayer services. And whereas the civil rights movement spurred a resurgence of Juneteenth, leading to the state of Texas declaring it an official state holiday in 1980, and continued to grow as an important national and local celebration of African American freedoms, culture, and achievement. And whereas Juneteenth was recognized as a federal holiday on June 17th, 2021, with the signing of the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law. And whereas on Wednesday, June 19th, the city of Ketchikan acknowledges and marks this important historical event, acknowledging our community members, their families, and the importance of acknowledging historical events. And whereas Juneteenth is a day of profound weight and power, a day in which we remember the moral stain and terrible toll of slavery on our country, a long legacy of racism, inequality, and inhumanity. But it is also a day that reminds us of our incredible capacity to heal, hope, and emerge from our darkest moments with purpose and resolve. And whereas Juneteenth not only commemorates the past, it calls us to action. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, General Gage, Vice Mayor of the City of Ketchikan, Alaska, do hereby observe June 19th, 2024 as Juneteenth Day of Observance. I ask that the community acknowledge and celebrate the end of the Civil War and emancipation of the Black Americans, and commit together to eradicate the racism that still undermines our founding ideals and collective prosperity. Signed this 18th day of June, 2024. I don't know if anyone's here. I know that most people are working, so.
We will make sure it's appropriate.
All right. Next up, persons to be heard. We're going to keep it to 3-minute time limit. And we also, all those of you with presentations, and you'll have a 10-minute presentation within our new business. So if you want to wait until then, but so we're going to go into.
Well, we have two, Christine Fury.
Way quicker than I wanted it to be. But, thank you guys for having me tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity to be heard. My name is Christine Fury, and I am a person in long-term recovery from a substance use disorder. And as a person with lived experience, with substance use, mental health disorders, the legal system, both as a victim and as an offender, and also having been an unhoused person and an OCS involved mother, 90% of which occurred right here in this very community. I say those things just to express why I feel the need to speak on what is going on in our community. As a former SUD counselor at Carr House and Ketchikan Indian Community, I'm going to focus on the issue of services, or what is right now the lack thereof. We as a community are doing a major disservice to Ketchikan and the communities surrounding us by not having a residential program for people to access the services that are so desperately needed. One thing I know for sure is that the issues surrounding substance use are far worse today than they were 11 years ago when I found recovery. Yet we have far less services, and it seems we are losing more by the day. Our people deserve to have the opportunity for a better way of life. Having no residential treatment program, many people will never get the opportunity to hear the words, "I am so glad that you are here." Because where on earth is here going to be when there's no residential program, very limited mental health services, and no high-risk shelter? When I felt wanted, safe, and supported, only then did my belief systems begin to change. When my belief systems about myself and the world around me began to change, my entire life changed, as did the lives of my children. Treating my substance use disorder opened the door for me to treat my trauma. Doing that is breaking generational curses in my family and in this community. Others deserve the chance to address what has happened to them, things that led them to making the decisions that they are making. I am begging this community to trust and to help us, to fight alongside of us, those who need it most. We need treatment options, like those of True North and others. And I bring up True North because I had the very lucky pleasure very recently of spending some time up there, touring their facilities and seeing how they operate and what services they provide. And there are too many words to say right now in this short time, but it changed my life forever. I'm a person that has lost direct family members to overdose, to suicide, and other substance use related deaths. And our community is hurting, and our people deserve the chance to live. I just want to say that. We need treatment options. We desperately do, because where there is life, there is hope. And we stop losing lives, we can begin rebuilding hope in this community. And so I just ask you guys and this community as a whole to really maybe take a second to step back. And I know like one of our biggest issues is we have a lot of unhoused people, but that is like a multifaceted issue of which substance use plays a major part for a lot of them, and mental health and the housing crisis. That's no secret to you guys, I know. But if we can tackle any of these things one thing at a time, we're treating part of the problem. And that is when people really have the chance to step up, become different, and be productive, positive members of this community like I am today. And I know that I'm one of the lucky ones, but I was lucky because people loved me where I was at, and they cared about me, and they helped teach me how to be a mom, how to be an employee, how to walk outside when it's light out. And everybody else that has not found that way of life deserves that chance to.
Kathleen Pearson.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Pearson, and I'm here to talk about behavioral health issues in our town and the effects of closing the homeless shelters. In the 22 years of living here and growing up in this town, I've always thought of this as a kind and caring town. The closing of the homeless shelter and the closure of the mental and behavioral health services have caused me to reconsider that thought. The brain is one of the most complex organs in the human body, and just one small problem can lead to ADHD, anxiety, depression, bipolar disease, PTSD, schizophrenia, and other disorders. A lot of times people turn to drugs and alcohol just to try and numb that problem because they don't have access to the proper medications and the psychiatric help that they need to control their disorders. Being homeless or on the brink of homelessness makes these issues more likely. As a high school volunteer and working as a CNA, I've worked with a lot of people in the homeless population. Some of them have had substance abuse issues, and some of them have had behavioral health issues as well. I have had people try to kick me, hit me, and even throw a garbage can at me. Not a single one of those times did I ever blame them or write them off as a human being. One of the saddest things I've come to be aware of is that the homeless people I work with, a lot of the times, have come to believe that our community has turned against them. And now we've taken away a place for them to be warm and to be sheltered. You've only recently shut down the homeless shelter, and there are already homeless camps popping up all over town. I think there's something people should consider, and that is our healthcare workers, including myself, have taken an oath to provide care no matter of age, gender, race, or economic hardship. So when October comes and the weather gets dangerous, where do you think they're all gonna go? They're gonna go to the emergency room. And when they come in with pneumonia and hypothermia and numerous other problems that they get from exposure, the hospital will give them a room. So when you go in there for an emergency and you have to wait 6 hours, that's probably why. Because the hospital is the only place where they can find shelter and warmth right now. There's a pyramid that I've been shown multiple times in my health classes, which is known as the Maslow hierarchy of pyramids of needs. It shows 5 different categories, and the most basic at the very bottom, which includes food, water, air, sleep, clothes, and finally, shelter. When you take away that part of the pyramid, the rest crumbles. We are not providing basic human needs to people in this town, and that disappoints me. It disappoints me because there are people in this town who are willing and okay with doing that, but that's not the town I grew up in. It's not a town I want my kids growing up in. So I'm imploring you not only to direct funds towards the mental health services here in this town, but also towards reopening the homeless shelter here. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Is there anybody that didn't get to sign up that would like to speak?
Just to the point?
Yeah, and then just state your name and.
Awesome. Firstly, I want to thank you guys for your time. I was actually sent here by my father to a degree. I don't follow his page too often. I stay off of Facebook, but luckily he sent me this memo. So it was my understanding that we're here.
Excuse me, you need to state your name,
Thank you. Sorry about that. My name is John
last name.
Schleif. Is there any that we good?
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
We just have to have it for the record.
Sure. So anyways, thank you all for being here and taking the time to do this. So it sounded to me a little bit like we were supposed to be gathering some professionals in the community to kind of discuss some of the options that we may or may not have to help mitigate some of the mental health crises that we have. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody that's already been up here talking about mental health awareness and drug use and all that things. And I wanted to kind of explain exactly what we do in the community to help support this. So again, my name is John. I work with 49 State Security Services, and we provide different levels of quote unquote security. Instead of just calling it security, what I like to tell people that are kind of interested in what we do, it's really hard to be specific because we do so much. I just say we try to support the community in any which way that we can support them. It does this in 2 different ways. It supports the community. It also obviously supports our business and the employees that work with it. So basically, we just tell everybody, what do you want? We'll help you out with whatever we can. We are licensed. We are a DPS licensed security facility with the state license number 222. We've been working in the state of Alaska since 2018. We've been only here in Ketchikan with 1 contract outside of the area. We do not want to leave. We want to be here. We've been here for quite a few years now. So what do we do currently for the mental health population? Title 47 is a big problem that we run into in this community. If nobody knows exactly what a Title 47 is, Title 47 is an individual that is out of their own personal capacity to make the right decisions for their own life. And it sounds like that's a lot of the people that are in the demographic that we're worrying about, the homeless. But to be specific with the problem that we're here with is we assist the hospitals, so the Department of Human Services. We transport these individuals one-on-one. We take them to mental health facilities across the state. And some of these individuals will actually have special services that will take them all the way across the country. Wherever they need to go, where the hospitals seem fit to support their mental health instabilities or whatever their situation may be, we get them there. We also work with the Department of Juvenile Justice. We take some of the children that are in kind of the at-risk community that little portion of that at-risk communities, and they're making support decisions. They need support getting from one place to the other. We also support OCS, the Department of Child Services. And what we do with them is we take some of those at-risk youths as well, and we will support them in their transport, from the instance of hey, we're going to pick this kiddo up because they don't fit in the foster care system right now because they're too acute for what's going on in these homes. The homes aren't built, set up, or qualified to be able to support these children, their mental health issues. And we will transport them from point A to point B for a facility, or from the facility back to a foster care system, depending on what part of the process that they're in. And the reason I bring those up is because what we do is, instead of relying specifically on what we have here at the table, we do what we can to help support the mental health crisis that we have in the community. And by doing that, we put our employees and our staffing in our system together in a way that supports each individual that we have with as much dignity as we could possibly give them. We're not out here trying to embarrass these people. We're not trying to make these kids feel uncomfortable. We're not taking these kids in shackles on planes and trying to make them miserable. We're inviting them in and letting them know that we all make mistakes. We all go through problems. We want to be here to support you. We want to go from point A to point B in a successful way. So one of the things that brought me here, specifically for the situation, again, is we want to help and support the community. There's many different ways to do this. Now, we have been approached on numerous occasions to support the city standing alone. The city has reached out to us to support them in different facets. A lot of it is one-on-one security or building security or that sort of thing for the city. I just wanted to remind everybody here that every single one of those conversations from the beginning of time till today has fallen flat. Now, the borough has taken a step to utilize our support. If you go to any of the borough meetings, the planning commission meetings, or any of those type of things, we support them in that, making sure that the individuals there can feel safe and supported and be able to go into an environment like this where they can speak without having issues. City obviously usually has the police department that's in here to do that, but we have been reached out for different items like that, and I just want to encourage the team here, if they're trying to figure out a reasonable, humane way to interact with the at-risk community, to be able to help support them and getting them towards the direction that they need to go. That's what we train our staffing to do. We don't bully, we don't push, we don't fight. Right? What we're trying to do is encourage these individuals to make the decisions that's required. Thank you for your time.
Hello, everybody. All right, thanks. My name is Danielle Nikic. I'm a member of Recovery, and I just want to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight and for what you've already done to support Ketchikan. I'm particularly grateful for the years that you've shown support for Stop the Stigma, Recovery March and Resource Rally, and all of the other events that you've supported in the recovery world that we've done in September for National Recovery Month here in Ketchikan. Like you all have already heard, unfortunately, the recent closure of the adult residential and outpatient STD and mental health services, paired with the closure of the warming center, are going to have grave consequences on both youth and adults in our community. As you're considering all of the testimonies tonight, along with those presented in previous meetings, I would ask that you put faces from Ketchikan in your mind when making these decisions. I'm a grateful recovering addict who was able to access treatment services when my desire to change, that tiny window of willingness and the gift of desperation was on me, and I was able to walk into a facility and ask for help. If that is no longer an option and that no longer exists for our community, where is the next struggling person going to go? There isn't a place right now, and that's terrifying. Being a woman in recovery, as well as a youth advocate, I see the effects on our youth, on our young people, and the struggles that are perpetuated, the generational cycles that continue having these issues, but I also have seen the solutions as well. Just as substance and mental health disorders have ripple effect through their families, so can recovery and so can healing. Members in recovery want to use their lived experience to be a part of solutions alongside of the service providers. If we can collectively address these issues from every approach possible and across all age ranges, we have the opportunity to have the greatest impact of healing our community. I'm not gonna stand here and pretend that I know what the magical answer is, or which one of these programs that are gonna be talked about is the exact magical answer to fix all of these. But what I have learned is that when people like me, people like us present to people like you who are making decisions, and you can put a face to the situation, that tends to have a great impact and it sticks in the minds of people who are making important decisions based on our community. And so I guess while I'm only one person, I'd like to represent one of those faces that is able to be here, be a member of society, be a mother, be a daughter, be a sister, to be someone of value that I was not able to be before. And that was because of the support that I got from our community and from the services provided here. And again, if we do not have those services, who is going to be able to get help next?
Thank you. Just state your name.
My name is Juliana Hefner. For the last year, I've been the care coordinator and peer support specialist for the First City Haven for City Homeless Shelter. I've worked with hundreds of clients and participants down there on very, very different levels. I've worked with care plans, I've worked with safety plans, I've helped people get connected to services down south for being victims of human trafficking. I've helped people get into treatment. I've helped people get connected to basic services, that's getting a driver's license with their social security cards so that they can get the services they need to connect to either with a job or with social security or with whatever they need for their veterans benefits or to be able to even collect their PFD fund. The housing is a problem. I want to represent the face of one person that has the connection to people that lost their home on Friday, and they still want to connect with our community. I've had the opportunity to walk by every day to check on the people I can find, because I'm not willing to give up the connections. And they have said that people in our community from various different walks of life have checked on them, have brought them things, and made sure that they have food or coffee or they have what they need. I want to be able to be part of the solution. I know that the shelter did not close because the shelter didn't work. I know the shelter closed because the shelter didn't work in the place it was at, and the services needed to be more than just housing or warehousing people. And we were getting there. We really were getting there. We just didn't get there in time. But I'm also not willing to give up the lives of the people that are on the street that are waiting to do what they need to do. Some of us will be able to qualify for the Reconnect program and be able to get out of town, but most of us won't. With no shelter here, a low barrier, options to go into family would have already been in play. And if the options to go to a town that has a low barrier shelter or low barrier services cannot guarantee a bed, we can't guarantee they're gonna have services or be any better off. So I think just rolling out street outreach and figuring out how to connect mental health. The MIH team has been wonderful coming in and connecting down there and making those connections. But like I said, I want to be part of the solution, and I want to let you know that the people that we have on the streets now do want services, they do want better, and they do want to be able to come in and get help if they want to, even if it's as simple as filling out applications online, connecting their mail. I mean, we have no address now, so how are they going to get their mail? It's coming to a PO box that they're not going to be able to have access to. Simple things like that can cripple a person whenever they don't have access to those kind of things. A lot of people get paper checks because they don't have checking accounts. So like I said, I've been down there for a year. I've made a lot of connections, and I'd like to be able to use that resource to help with whatever we can do to connect and get the resources to the people, whether it's in recovery or mental health or coexisting orders. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Franklin. I don't know if this one.
Yeah,
or this
both of
one.
them.
Both of them.
So,
We're trying to get as much sound as we can.
so thank you so much for your attention. And I just want to say that this thing should be a movement of peace. It's not, because it's just not about the homeless population, but it's about the people who worry about them, specifically talking about people who are trying also to help them. We provide them something, but I've seen them working, and it's one person helping so many. So we just need a solution. It's so many dots. We all want the same thing. We all want peace. We all want a wellness community where we can work together, but we cannot work together if we work separately, if everyone is doing different things for the same purpose. KIC has been working, they have meetings, they worry, and I really truly believe that we are just seeing the human level. We are not considering the spiritual realm, and we are spirits too, walking in this earth. And those healings also belong to the human and spiritual realm, and personally, I know how that works. So I just really want to give you the thanks for your willingness to listen. And I truly believe that this has to be something that, like I said today in my email, it shouldn't be division. It shouldn't be that correspond to that entity, to that entity. We should all work together because we all have our own experiences to share. But one of the most important things is to take care of the people, to take care of the people. So we need to help them, to serve. In especially Ty, I see him how he lives. Is not, we need to provide also services for those people who work for our people, for them to be in the clear mind, in a clear heart, to know how to work together as a team, not separate. So if we just make something together, I'm sure it will be peace in our town, it will be joy, it will be shine again. But this is a lot of work, and we cannot be separated anymore. We just need to get together again, just for the benefit of all. Healing as we used to heal, with plants, with smokehouse, cooking, baking, giving attention, giving love. That's it. That's all what they need. They need to feel attention as all the people who work for them, for all who are there for them, because they need that renourishment. We need to reassurance our tribes, our way that we used to live. And it was just not for money. We are not looking for money. We are looking for bring paradise again to our hometown. And that is just working together as a team. Thank you.
Good morning, Gloria Burns. I'm really here to listen to all the wonderful ideas that I think will be generated from our community when we come from a place of compassion and realization that the situation in our community can only be healed by the entire community and by lifting everybody up. I heard several people speak about their recovery. I just gotta say, I'm so thankful that you had access to services and family and people that allowed for you to be in recovery so that you could be the lights that you are in our community. So, I think that it's important to recognize that, people are speaking about homeless, some people are speaking about recovery. We really don't have any of the services that are needed in our community for somebody to be successful. I want to reiterate what was said by somebody previously, that you're going to see these folks in the emergency room. I really implore everybody to look up the statistics financially, what happens to a city or municipality when you don't have basic services for homeless or SUD or any of those things, and just the amount of money you end up spending in other parts of your community. It cripples municipalities. And so I know that you are all charged of weighing the needs of the many and trying to figure out how to make sense of what that looks like. But I want to say, when I walk by the homeless shelter, I have always lived in Indiantown. I've always lived on that side of town. I walk by neighbors. I walk by people I graduated with who should be sitting on tribal council with me or sitting up there on the city with you, who came from good families with great prospects. And it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking, but I don't ever walk by any of them and don't have them say, "Hey, Gloria, how you doing?" Say, "Hey, how's it going? What's up?" And so I think it's really important. I want to distinguish that there's this continuous conversation that everybody is from somewhere else and they end up here and we're just going to be able to somewhere else them. I want to say that there's a large part of our population are the people without home. Or the people without house. This is their home, not unlike Hawaii. They're not going anywhere else. They have no desire to be anywhere else and they won't be anywhere else. And we have a large amount of our population that we're not talking about, which is the homeless youth in our community who will have no job skills, no ability, and no prospects for homes. And so when we look at it and we're looking at all the solutions that people are going to provide, it's important, I believe, to remember that we have people that are walking zombies right now. And if the community doesn't come together and if the government doesn't have a part in that to be part of the solution, there will be nobody young to be sitting as a city council persons. There will be nobody in leadership in the borough that's young. There will be nobody on a tribal council that's young and up and coming. Those folks will move to places with resources, and we will be with folks that really are struggling and hurting. And so I'm just so excited to hear what's coming up. I really implore people to think that we have several issues. We have an issue that we have people with intensive psychiatric needs, like my brother, like my younger brother, who, you know, those of you know, amazing young man, pulled a smokestack off a boat, ended up in prison, did all those things, right? He's going to be a dad this year. You know, he's doing his stuff, but this community doesn't provide that help. And he certainly would not have survived in a hospital that intaked him via iPad, had that been what had happened, which is what we do now. So we have that one thing that has to be addressed. Then we have the SUD services that need to be addressed and the detox that has to be attached to that. And, you know, and all these things are different. And they all deserve their own place. They can't be crumpled up and stuck in one place and thrown at a wall and think that that's when to go. And so I'm just, you know, I'm impressed with all of you willing to take the time to come up with solutions and to hear the community, and look forward to the ways in which, you know, Aquila is the past. They're the past. We don't even have to talk about them anymore. They're gone. The future is for us to decide what that could be look like to be powerful in our community. And that's, I think, what we have to really focus on is what is the most powerful path that builds on each other for our future.
One more.
My name is Lori Medvin. Wasn't planning on talking today, but Danielle inspired me. I wanted to be another face before you to encourage you to think about opening up the car house again to another facility for treatment. There's a lot of topics on the table tonight, a lot of possibilities of how our community can help those who are suffering. The beautiful thing about recovery is the light, it's the candle, and one can most definitely affect another, but it has to start somewhere. And Christine mentioned it, the community. People who are struggling with addiction, I'm 22 years clean and sober. Ketchikan's my hometown, and I live and I recover here. So recovery is passionate to me. So, excuse me. It is what it is. I'm an emotional person. But having said that, here I am anyway. I come before you to implore you to just, the car house is needed. A facility to run that treatment center is vital to this community. If one person can recover, perhaps another can because of them. They can follow their footsteps. That's how recovery works, is one helping another. But without a facility to join together, somebody mentioned the community. And for people who are in active addiction, active alcoholism, the one thing they don't have is a feeling of community. And they get that in the rooms of a treatment center. They learn how to be a part of, they learn how to cook. Somebody mentioned that. They know how to clean. They know how to make their bed. They learn how to do basic life skills that they don't learn on the street. Because treatment facilities are vital, especially for a small town. I've heard somebody say, it doesn't affect us because they don't die here. They do die here. Our kids are dying. We have an entire generation dying on the streets of Ketchikan, Alaska. Stomp the stigma. We carry their signs, their faces. down the streets every year to honor them, to remember them, because they shouldn't have died. It was a senseless death. Addiction can be treated, but we need to have a place to start. And the facilities, the residential inpatient treatment, there's not many in Alaska. There's 3 in Southeast. And one of those I heard is also closing, so that means 2. Inpatient treatment facilities in Southeast Alaska is not near enough to even begin to handle the problem that we have. Homelessness veers off of that. It all stems from something. I think if we start somewhere, for me, my passion is recovery. And I want to be one of those people before you today, to implore you again, to consider putting another facility in that building to help our people. And I think that True North are going to share with you tonight. I think that I know Cara, I know her heart, and I believe that her program could be a really beautiful building block for this community to put that back in action and to save those who are suffering. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so. So new business. So we're now gonna do the presentations, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Did you,
Madam Chair, if you want to make a motion to enter into discussion, it should be at the top of my memo on the first page, just a motion to discuss.
Should be on your.
oh, there it is, okay.
Motion to discuss.
Discussion, behavioral health needs and potential use of city assets. I had this big note about how I need to make sure everyone only has 3 minutes. I got highlights.
I move the city council discuss behavioral health needs in Ketchikan and potential use of the city assets that may be available for those needs.
Second. Clerk call the roll.
Oh, well, we'll just
Don't
enter
really
into
need
discussion. So,
Yeah.
Madam Chair, council members, what we did was just prepare an information packet for you with all the resources that we got from the State of Alaska Behavioral Health Division. And of course, we don't need to go through those pages and pages of reports at this meeting, but we wanted that as a primer to this discussion. And as Madam Gage, Mayor Pro Tem Gage mentioned earlier, we did have a few entities who signed up to give presentations and lead that discussion. So that would be the next part of the meeting. And I believe Kim has the final list of everybody
And I did give.
Yeah, I have, there's,
And Deputy Clerk Lee has some of the presentations of whoever's doing them.
so I guess we could,
Just start with the first one.
so Ketchikan Wellness Coalition is the first one on the list.
So no PowerPoints or anything. So Lisa Delat, the Crisis Now Community Coordinator at the Ketchikan Wellness Coalition. And I did want to start just by saying thank you for this special meeting. This is my second time speaking on this topic, so I appreciate the second time. But I do want to tell you that I am hesitant, as I really was feeling discouraged after the city council didn't heed the warnings about the decisions on the low barrier shelter. When your police chief, your fire chief, your CAO of the hospital, your public health nurse, myself and others have had shared their concerns about the closure of it. And I just want to say that I was hesitant to come tonight, but it is my job and I do care about this community. This new situation is an urgent one, and every day our people are without services. 3 overdoses in a week, other situations that I'm not aware of, and many are silently struggling. I wanted to first start with our current situation and paint a picture of what we currently have, because we do have excellent providers in our community. Is it enough? No, but we have about 20 providers in our community. 10 private practice, some with more than 1 clinician. We have youth and family services by Community Connection and RYC, who are expanding their services and doing a phenomenal job. So shout out to both of them. And KIC, they have mental health and substance use counselors, and much more. They have a wide continuum of care. And also WISH, Women in Safe Homes, they also have mental health or behavioral health providers there. And our school district has social workers, master level clinicians there as well. And then remote teletherapy. Many people here actually prefer that. I know it's not ideal for everyone, but it is a small town. Many prefer it and choose that. And then we also have 5 psychiatrists here. So that, I mean, that's, I think that's pretty significant. I just want to start where we currently sit. That's without Aquila. So I also wanted to mention that Aquila in 2023, they had 9,338 client contacts. So I don't know what that breaks down to per month by easy math, but go ahead. But Gateway itself, 3,228, their crisis intervention at the hospital, 302, assessments, 325. This all equals up to that 9,000. But Car House, 5,423. So every month that goes by that they're closed, that Aquila's closed, we are missing those contacts with these people to help save their lives, change their lives. And that's all found online under Aquila's website. The need, at minimum, is the emergency department for the mental health assessments at Peace Health. And I know that teletherapy is not ideal. But when it is difficult to find clinicians that are willing to be on call 24/7, it is an option. And don't forget that we have wonderful nurses and doctors in the emergency department. So they're not just there sitting with a tablet. I don't have lived experience with this situation, but I could guess that those nurses and those doctors do a great job while that person is in the hospital facing that mental health crisis. At minimum, outpatient mental health and substance use services with crisis services. And that's that crisis stabilization piece. If we call it crisis stabilization, we're seeing what's unfolding with Bartlett. It's not something that our critical access hospital can do. But if we have those peer support and other support, levels of support with crisis services, so just those 3, outpatient mental health, substance use, and that crisis services, we could connect a lot of people with the professionals that they need, that connection that they need. And then, the SMI, the serious mental illness as well. I think that there was 18 with Aquila, and we're trying to find psychiatrists and others for them to connect to, as they cannot be without services. We've seen in this community recently what happens when somebody's not connected with services and they have an SMI. With the teletherapy in the hospital though, it would benefit our community greatly if we had more than just that assessment piece, that crisis piece. If we had the by appointment and their bridge care, so there are teletherapy agencies that provide those. So that bridge service is the important one. That's the one that if you were placed on a hold 1, 2, 3 days and then you're sent home, but right now we don't have community behavior health. They're sent with nothing, go find a practice provider, that kind of thing. This service would be a telemed service that would keep them connected until they no longer needed it or was able to connect with another provider in town. So that for me is like a vital piece that is a huge gap that we don't have. Or they get to the emergency department, they do not meet criteria for a hold and sent home. So that bridge care could help continue that because they are facing a mental health challenge, but they just didn't meet criteria for that hold. So it means they still need a high level of care. Sobering Center. The one in Juneau is the one that I would love to see it modeled after. Theirs is called the CARES Sobering Center. It's for the homeless chronic users of EMS who need medical attention and supervision, but not emergency services. So maybe staffed with EMTs.
Excuse me, I have
Yes.
a question.
Sorry, I thought you were talking to Tara, I'm sorry.
When you were talking about bridge service, that we don't have that now, Have we ever had that? Did we have that with Aquila?
No, nope, they were just to follow up with Aquila the next
Okay.
day, or whenever they were released from the hospital.
They've
Okay.
never had that.
So we've never had.
It's a telehealth service that some provide. So you could still be connected to services, like say you were released on a Friday, and as you have Saturday, Sunday, where you still need a certain amount of support. So to have that.
No, I think it's great. I just wondered if that's something we lost or if that's something we'd be adding.
No, yep, never had.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. I should look up a little bit more than you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so need residential inpatient program that I would love to see True North Recovery fill that spot. I know that location is not under the city's control, but if there is any way, it's helpful to say that tonight that location situation is set up ideally for True North Recovery, and could probably implement services rather quickly. I'll let Kara speak more to this later, but they have also opened up another service or same services in another city, so they already know that they can do it, and we gladly have them here. Their model is phenomenal, and if all they brought was their one piece, that residential piece, it would mean a lot. But if we were to expand to all of the services that they have in the Mat-Su Valley right now, it would be phenomenal service. Let's see. Sober Living, which is True North's recovery residential program. I could see that being the Peyton's Place, the one in Bear Valley. I could see that house being used as a part of their program if were willing and able to do their sober living. And then last, Rise and Search. So I do support their full range of SUD services if that is what will be presented, if that's what's in the talks. MAT only is just a real small niche. But so if we had True North Recovery with residential and we had Rise Searches program, Rise for the full range of SUD with the medically assisted treatment, that would fill a huge gap, multiple gaps. But it still does leave the community without mental health outpatient and intensive patients. So I don't know who would come into that. That's the hard part. Would love to see like Alaska Behavioral Health. They have a wonderful program, but I don't know that they're looking to expand. That was a lot of information in a really short amount of time. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one on the list is Dr. Brittany Pope.
Hello. So I didn't know I was on the actual meeting, so I didn't do a PowerPoint, but I'm glad I have a little more time to speak. So my name is Dr. Brittany Pope. You just call me Brittany. I'm not that stuffy to be called doctor, but I feel like it's important to tell people kind of my experience.
I was gonna test you.
Jamie, I'm gonna make you call me doctor. So I've been in the community for almost 9 years, which is crazy. My husband and I moved here 9 years ago and had our family, and we are kind of in flux because of the preschool situation. So that's a whole other discussion with the borough. But so I've been here providing mental health services. I worked and had the privilege of supervising Christine over here, and have worked with a lot of people in this room in different capacities. I worked at Community Connections. I worked at KIC. I was there for about 4 years providing their psychological testing, which is now currently what I do in the community. I found out Gateway was closing the same way everybody else did, or Aquila, I apologize. I'm so used to calling it Gateway, online, and I was really frustrated. And you now have a face to the name that sends you lots of emails. And I'm really passionate about advocacy in this community. I'm really passionate about this community because we grew up together in a lot of ways. And this is where I practiced with my master's. This is where I decided to get my doctorate because there wasn't services available like psychological testing services. So I'm really committed in a lot of ways. I actually started a group practice because of this need for more Medicaid services. But in private practice, we can't provide the array of services that Aquila can provide. Because there's different rules at the state level. You have to have CARF accreditation, which is about $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000, which is a barrier for private providers because it's a high cost. And so we can only provide individual counseling and assessment services. So what that means is someone comes in to see me, I can do the initial assessment, and then I would do ongoing therapy for them. Other than that, we can't provide case management. We can't provide the wraparound services that Gateway was providing. We can't provide emergency response services because we don't get reimbursed for those services. And as much as I love working with clients who have Medicaid, the reimbursement rate is low. It's hard to provide those services without grant services, which is what Gateway was, Aquila was receiving here in the community. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of that background. I don't need to give any of the statistics because I think Lisa did a really nice job of giving you that. I do want to say, so what she means by bridge services from the perspective of a mental health clinician is someone leaving the hospital most likely needs follow-up within 24 to 48 hours based on their level of suicidality, level of care, plan of care. Gateway was doing that, but they were having them come in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever like the next business day. So it wasn't maybe exactly what she's talking about, but it filled a need that we're missing now. Gateway was also providing, Aquila, I apologize, was also providing the emergency department services. For the past probably about 3 to 4 years since COVID, those have been virtual. Most of their services have been virtual. And I'll tell you as a practice who has several virtual counselors, is it always the best practice? No, because we have some clients who need intensive wraparound services. So I think just so you guys have an understanding of what we face as private practitioners, and I did implore all of my private practitioner friends to either show up or send emails, so hopefully you got a lot of really good ideas from them. So several of my ideas really come in the place of diversifying our mental health providers in town. I don't really know how many there are virtually, but we don't have a lot in town. And so diversifying the residential treatment center versus the mental health and substance abuse services would allow us to not be in this, I would say a curse word again, but we don't want to be in the same situation that we're in now, where someone decides 2 months before they're going to end services that they're ending services, and then now we're in a scramble 2 weeks before they're supposed to end services to figure out what to do. We don't want to be in that position again. So let's work smarter, not harder. Let's have several people in the community that are going to come in and provide the residential services at the Carr House, that are going to come in and provide the MAT services, the substance misuse services, and the mental health services. Why not have more than one provider? Healthy competition is great. I think it's great to have that competition and also those services. That competition creates better services for our community. So I'm proposing that the Carr House is run. I know that there's someone interested here. I've never met Kara. I've heard wonderful things just from my communications within the community and within the mental health providers in town. If they're willing to come in and they are a proven provider in the state of Alaska and they're used to providing I'm really tired. My children keep me up constantly, so I apologize for any grammar issues. But rural services, that's important. And Wasilla is, yes, it is connected to Anchorage, but it's still considered rural. And they have provided good treatment services from what I hear in that area. If they're willing to come in and not ask us for money, what a savings as taxpayers, right? We don't have the funding to be putting all this money into these buildings. That would be my first recommendation. So if we have providers in this community that are saying, heck yeah, we want to be here, let's welcome them. Let's welcome them smartly. Let's ask them what they're willing to do. Let's ask them how they're going to do it. Let's be more informed on services, because over the last 5 years, Aquila has closed down services really slowly under our watch. I have been bringing this up for years. I know Jana Lee ad nauseum has brought it up for years. They closed down their children's mental health services, mostly fully staffed. They closed down their, they transitioned. I was on the Ketchikan Wellness Coalition board when they transitioned the Reentry Coalition to the Ketchikan Wellness Board. They closed down the Carr House suddenly with people inside of it. They closed down the mental health services in person 4 years ago. Let's not let this happen to our community again. Let's not do that. Let's be really smart when we're looking at these options. The next option I'd like to support, and I've had several talks directly with them, is Search. They have provided proven services in Prince of Wales. If anybody has been to Prince of Wales, you know how desolate Prince of Wales is. And they are almost one of the only service providers besides Community Connections on the island that provide an array of services beyond what even Community Connections provides. They're kids only, and Search does adults, and they do a variety of services. Why not have them try out on our community? They're willing to come in and modify things and not cost taxpayers any money again. I know that's really important to people watching, and me too, as a taxpayer. So why not allow them? That would then provide you with the residential services, and that would also then provide you with the substance misuse services and the MET services. Let's ask them what type of services they're going to provide. Let's do our homework. Let's make sure there might be an agreement where maybe they can expand those services because they have those services in other communities. And the last thing I want to speak about is the ED services in the hospital. I'm not in a place where I can wake up in the middle of the night. I have 2 toddlers. That's just not a reality for me to be able to provide that service as a private provider. We can't go for it. It's not a reality. I can't do that. I probably know a lot of private providers that could say the same thing. Let's get an agency in here that's what they do. They provide ED services that are maybe not going to be mostly in person. Maybe there's a contact in person. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like because I haven't done as much kind of reaching out in that area. But I know what's happening right now might not work in some situations. So if it's not going to work, if the person really needs to see someone in person, maybe the hospital could partner with Search or True North Recovery to maybe have a clinician come out within so many hours, maybe the next day. I don't know. I don't know what the solution for that part is. I'm kind of scratching my head, about that one because I just don't know. And I know most hospitals do telehealth services for this. It might be a reality of where we're heading. And Peace Health has a plan for that. I've talked to several providers there. They're doing a short-term plan, I think, until they can figure out a better long-term plan. I see Delilah not figuring out. So that's, for me, that's not the priority at the moment. That's a priority of maybe the next 6 to 12 months when you're planning. The priority of the moment is how do we get mental health in this community? How do we get substance use treatment in this community? And how do we get residential treatment in this community? Those are priorities for me. And so I just would implore you to reach out to your private providers, we barely get reached out to. You would be shocked how often and how little private practitioners are reached out to. I am just loud. So I think you're going to hear from me, but there are a team of providers that have good opinions that some are here tonight. And I think we should be included in these discussions as much as I think people are able, but also there's a lot of providers that are in private practice in the community who have been here a very long time. And I think they deserve a voice. And I would encourage you, there's a list available on Ketchikan Wellness Coalition's website, has all the private providers. Send them an email, ask them for their feedback. Because I think they do have really good ideas and those deserve to be heard too. Do you guys have any questions? Or I don't have a beautiful PowerPoint or anything.
I have one.
Yeah.
And it's more of I know you have toddlers, but if there at some point, if it came down to where, when we're talking about putting this together, if there's a group of the private providers where they can sit down and offer, look at it from a perspective of, what's missing, what's not, because most of us, some of us know, but we all know what's missing, right, is the whole, but there's these pockets.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. So it sounds like maybe a work session with the providers, like providers in town. So what I'm understanding.
or even a hack board style where it's, I don't know, where there's groups of people that are just, that know the ins and outs of the mental health and the substance, where there can be held accountability, where we have some accountability. So if we see something going terribly wrong, where we don't have 4 years of
an advisory board.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I was charades over here. I think it'd be a great idea, and I don't think just private providers should be on that. I think if we have big players in the community, Peace Health, it should be Search, True North, whoever comes into our town. I think that could be
Well, I'm just saying would you be on it? Or
Oh, you know how long that Jay Matani's been trying to get me to join the, the council? I mean, I would be happy to be a part of that. What that looks like, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy to, and I'm also happy to be a resource. I know I've had lots of conversations with council members who have reached out to me. I know Medicaid in and out. I'm a Medicaid provider. So I could tell you like kind of Medicaid rules and regs and things like that, which might be helpful. What I don't want it to be is like a advisory advisory board. I'd want it to advise the council and not advise getting people in trouble. Like if someone's doing something,
Yeah, no.
because it could be weird in that sense where you're like on this advisory committee, like, oh, this person's doing this thing, you know. But I do agree with like there should be some sort of oversight. There is oversight on these agencies. They're in Anchorage.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Medicaid.
as you just said, because Medicaid is a whole nother animal
It is.
that no one here really has I can honestly say I don't have a complete grasp of Medicaid or Medicare.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving, so it's.
Yeah, it's constantly changing and there's two different types and there's so many different subtypes and things like that. And so, I mean, if it's educating the council just on the general Medicaid stuff, sure, like I'm happy to sit down with you guys and maybe not this forum, but in general, talking about that, if that's something that's important to you guys, but it's always changing. So 1 minute it could be this, the next minute it'd be this. But I think I would say as the council, like, yes, Gateway made a lot of, Aquila, sorry, I'm so ingrained in Gateway. Aquila made a lot of decisions over the last 5 years that were known in the community, but I think we needed their services so bad, and this is our chance to start over. And you have 3 people here tonight who spoke of their recovery. And those 3 people I've had the pleasure, well, 2 of the 3, I've had the pleasure of working with in different capacities. And everything they're saying about services missing is true. And you could be these 2 people. I have a brother who is clean and sober, just recently relapsed. And thankfully he's in a bigger city and has a lot of services who I would never, he wanted to move here. And I said, I would never allow you to move here because of the lack of resources. So I'm a lived family member. They have the lived experience, you know? So I think addiction touches everybody's lives in some way. I think it's important to remember that as a community. So I'm done talking. Happy to always like have conversations, have coffee. You're gonna get a very passionate person. I'm constantly apologizing to Mr. Matani over here because I'm like, I'm sorry I'm being so passionate, but I'm just really passionate about people getting quality support. So my main points to run home would be diversify the services, invite more than one person in this community, have better oversight of maybe how people transition out of services. Like they are your buildings, like you can make that decision of like what that looks like. And then allow the people who are interested in our community to have a word and maybe have a space because they might provide services in a way that this community hasn't seen before. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next one is True North Recovery.
Hi, my name is Karen Nelson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of True North Recovery. Thank you, council members, for this opportunity to discuss solutions for Ketchikan. Joining me today is Chloe Engel. She's our Chief Administrative Officer. And then we also have our CEO, Carl Soderstrom, who's joining us via WebEx. Tonight, I'm going to provide an overview of our current services, outline our intent for services in Ketchikan, and show 2 short videos on our facilities, and then wrap up with some background on our organization and what brought us to this point today, being here. We got 10 minutes, so we'll see if we can get through that in 10 minutes. True North Recovery is a leading behavioral health organization currently located in Fairbanks and Wasilla. In Wasilla, we operate Vita Nova 3.1, 3.5, 23-bed residential treatment center. Additionally, we provide outpatient, intensive outpatient services, several recovery residences, and peer support with all of our programs. We also have the Day One Center in Wasilla, and it functions as a behavioral health urgent care center. Within the Day One Center, we have Dillon's Place, a 10-bed withdrawal management detox center. We offer walk-in crisis services through our Launchpad program. This provides on-site crisis peer support and case management. We also have 2 mobile crisis teams in the Mat-Su Valley consisting of crisis peers and a mental health clinician who work closely with law enforcement and the community to respond to crisis calls. These services are open 7 days a week. In Fairbanks, we operate the Christopher Walden House of Hope. It's a 3.1, 16-bed residential facility. Our services there include outpatient and intensive outpatient, case management, crisis services, pre and post release, reentry services, and recovery residences. True North Recovery is committed and passionate about providing same-day access to care, including walk-in and by appointment integrated behavioral health assessment for that right now service. Our intent for Ketchikan is to provide 3.1 residential treatment services with partners with many in this room who I've been talking to for many years and some more recently. We want to ensure the full continuum of care is available for the Ketchikan community. And I'm going to show two short videos of two of our facilities, just to give you an idea of kind of what it looks like. One is our Dillon's Place Detox Center within the Day One Center, and the other is our Vita Nova Wasilla 3.5, 3.1 residential center.
Before you do that, can you explain the difference between the 3.1 and the 3?
3.1 is low intensity treatment. 3.5 is a higher intensity treatment. It really, and I have Chloe here that can answer in more detail, but basically it just has a little more requirements for treatment hours, clinical hours. Is that accurate?
So is one
Yes.
outpatient, one?
No.
They're both residential treatment levels of care. It just depends on the amount of required treatment hours a week and also their ASAM dimension. So mental health, also physical health barriers. So it kind of depends on what kind of level of care they're needing and the most appropriate fit for them.
Okay.
Both are 24-hour staffed residential treatment.
Recovery.
Sorry, I haven't done a video on this before. So.
Hi, welcome. Carl Soderstrom here, True North Recovery. Really excited to share with you guys that Dillon's Place is now open. I'd love to give you a little bit of a tour of what to expect if you or a loved one is seeking services or want some help with detox or withdrawal management. This is the place to do it. Dillon's Place is a withdrawal management or detox center right here in the heart of Wasilla. We have an 8-bed withdrawal management program, really specializing in methamphetamines and opiate use disorders. We have a full medical team here, as well as peers and case managers and clinicians that can help you navigate not only getting here and getting settled, but all the next steps that come after it. And we really want you to know that you're loved and you're valued, and this is a place where you can get started. So if you, a loved one, or someone you know is ready to take the next steps, here's the place to do it. You can walk in at 2650 East Broadview Ave, or you can call us at 907-313-1333. You can also get all this information on our website, www.tnrak.org. This could be your day one. Let us help you find your pathway to recovery today. Hi, welcome.
Yeah. want to have a home environment. It's incredibly comfortable to go there. And what brought us to this point is really our deeply rooted commitment to serving Alaska and our people. We've been waiting for an opportunity to pour into this region, specifically Ketchikan. When we received news that Carr House and Allied Behavioral Health Services were closing, we knew it was the time to act. Our intent is to utilize the existing facility to bring our services to Ketchikan and move forward with residential treatment. And we have been in communication with many community providers here to do that. I personally joined True North Recovery 3 years ago, but I worked with the CEO, Carl Soderstrom, for the last decade to bring innovative and impactful recovery services to Alaska. For me, this is deeply personal. I was born and raised in Ketchikan and lived here for 32 years. I grew up on Pond Reef Road. I spent a large portion of my active addiction here, causing much chaos and harm. To stand here today with over a decade of professional experience and a commitment to helping others feels like coming full circle. It's an honor to have the opportunity to give back to the community. The community that shaped me to be part of the healing and rebuilding process. You can imagine 20 years of active addiction and to be able to come back to my hometown and serve in any way, shape, or form. Every individual we help at True North Recovery represents a life transformed, a family reunited, a community strengthened. I've seen firsthand the power of recovery and the difference it makes. This work is not just our profession, it's calling. The chance to extend these services to Ketchikan means that we can bring hope and healing to more people right here where it all began for me personally. True North Recovery started as a peer support agency in 2016. In 2018, we formed as a nonprofit and began outpatient services. We've been blessed with exceptional opportunities to expand and be a part of building robust recovery services all over the state of Alaska. Today, we have over 100 employees, many of whom have lived experience through their own recovery journeys, and many who have been directly impacted by addiction and incarceration. This personal connection to our work fuels our commitment to excellence and innovation. Having the lens of lived experience and professional experience allows us to create programs that truly meet the needs of those we serve. It drives us to be compassionate, to strive for excellence, and never give up on anyone. Bringing these services to Ketchikan is more than an expansion. It's a fulfillment of our mission and a testament of our belief in the power of recovery. Thank you for your time and dedication to bring us all together, bring healing to this community. We're eager to be a part of Ketchikan's healing. Thank you.
Wait, no,
Questions?
yeah, questions.
Sorry.
Go, Mark.
Okay.
Thanks.
Can't run away yet.
Thanks for coming tonight. Actually, thank you to everybody who came and spoke to us. Can you tell us a little bit about how many beds you might be able to provide in our community and how many folks you would have on your staff here helping?
Sure. So, I mean, our hope and intent is really to locate in the Carr House facility, which is a 16-bed facility. Yeah.
And how many folks from True North would be here in Ketchikan?
True North here, we would have a leadership team that is rooted in the community here, and then we would oversee, obviously, and support that team that's on the ground here in Ketchikan. Is that what's your question?
Can you give me any specifics as far as how many folks would actually be in Ketchikan helping provide the services at the 16-bed facility?
How many employees would you have?
How
in
many
Ketchikan?
employees would we have? Okay. Ray, you want to come up here? She's our detail gal.
I would say we would have at least a minimum of 2 counselors. We would have a peer supervisor with, I would say typically there's 5 staff. Yeah, 5 peer staff, 2 overnight wait staff that would be full-time. At least 2 case managers. And that would be essentially the staffing of what we would use in the car house. However, like Kara said, we would have leadership team on the ground, and probably have some additional oversight.
Okay, thank you.
Matan.
Yeah.
To the chair, I've done a lot of research, so thank you for your presentation. A lot of research on your organization. It's been very positive. My concerns and my biggest question, you see what Akila did to us. Your organization is coming from the north. Will you be able to retain and staff the facility? Will you provide us with a long-term plan, or will you decide you can't staff it, you're having issues with that, and just leave us again? I mean, that's what Akila did to us in 4 days. They
Sure.
gave us 4 days notice. So do you have a roadmap to see that you can be long-term in Ketchikan?
Sure. Well, we did start services in Fairbanks, Alaska 2 years ago and have not just maintained that staff, but also grown, of course. We've learned a lot of lessons there and challenges and solutions, but also we have a lot of people on the ground today that are in Ketchikan that we've been in relationship with for a long time, because this is really a movement of recovery. And of course, we do run a treatment center, but we're also very connected and have strong relationships with the providers here, the people in recovery, the clinicians, nurse practitioners. So I can't tell you like 1,000,000% that that's going to happen, but we're going to we're going to do everything possible to stay here for as long as Ketchikan is here, and as long as we're available to make those services happen with many folks in this room.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I expand on that question? Madam Chair, Councilmember Matani, we did check with the Alaska Mental Health Trust as well as the Behavioral Health Department, and they had nothing but positive readings for True North. So just to add to that.
I think, I just want real quick, sorry, the chair, I'm not sure what the. Like I mentioned in my conversation earlier in presentation, this really is a calling that we have, and it's really incredibly important because we're tired of seeing our friends die as well. So that professional realm and that personal realm drives us in a way that is not typical of some, organizations that I've seen, so.
Jack. Mr. Sonderson.
If someone up there want to talk,
The CEO could expand on that
go
also.
for it.
Hey, well, thank you again for the opportunity. I just wanted to mention that we've really dove into the details of what it would look like for us to be sustainable in Ketchikan, and our number is 9. So as long as we're maintaining 9 residents within the car house, we're fully sustainable without any outside grant funding. We've built our organization around the concept that we don't want to rely on any outside resources to fund our programs. So our entire organization, as well as our proposed services in Ketchikan, would be sustainable as long as we're maintaining 9 individuals in the facility. It being a 16-bed facility leads us to believe that it can not only be sustainable, but fruitful long-term. The last thing that we want to do is come to a community unprepared. The ladies that are before you today, their heart and soul is in Ketchikan. As Kara shared with you, she grew up there. This means a lot to us, and I can also assure you that we're not the type that would be shy to tell you when we're struggling or where we need help if we need help. I think it takes collaboration and connection and partnership with a lot of different providers. So I wanted to answer that question, saying that we have a sustainable plan of 9 residents in the building. All of our programs have always been full and waitlisted. So we generally don't have a hard time filling our facilities, because I think people that get services from us find success and share it with others. You also asked about staffing, on how we're going to staff it and how we're going to maintain it. It is my goal to pour into the team, and the team at True North then pours into our clients. And so a real simple way of doing that is offering extremely competitive wages and incredible benefits. When we're able to do that and value our staff really well, they come to the table not only and stay, but they provide good care. And so that is our intention, is to not only be a presence in Ketchikan, but a really great employer as well.
Thank you.
Jack?
Thank you for the presentation and welcome back to Ketchikan. In your introductory remarks, you made a passing reference to a working relationship you have with the police department in Wasilla, and I wondered if you could give just a sense of the nature and the scope of that relationship.
Oh, wow, okay. So Wasilla PD as well as Palmer PD and the troopers all work with not just our Day One Center, but all of our programs. Specifically with our mobile crisis team, they actually meet weekly with our team to really staff situations. We're being called out on mobile crisis, being dispatched out on mobile crisis calls, which means that law enforcement may or may not be on the call with us. And it's part of the Crisis Now continuum with the mobile crisis teams. And then we have a level 5, we have 5 levels of being dispatched out. And so I mean, they're amazing. They're at our spot all the time and really building those relations. And also it really helps our clients and people that are in the building not be completely terrified, although they are, at first, but they're building relationship and understanding, like, we're all here to help each other. And maybe you won't make it this time, but maybe next time, and you have kind of that buffer with our peers to really make that happen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Step Free Alaska. I don't know.
Are they online too?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're online. Okay.
Melanie, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm sorry. This is Melanie. I apologize. I was having trouble online. Thank you for giving me a moment to speak. Normally, our very amazing CEO, Philip Licht, would be the one talking, but he is on vacation, so it's me. So thank you for your patience. We were actually contacted by our ASAP provider in Kenai asking if we could expand some telehealth services to Ketchikan because we didn't know, like it sounds like many of you didn't know, that Aquila was leaving the community. At this time, we are mostly focused on Wasilla and Homer. We have a women's residential center in Wasilla, a men's residential center in Homer. Both centers are capable of having the children placed with the parents while they're in treatment, with the goal of reuniting them. We have a crisis stabilization residential program in Wasilla, MAT services in Wasilla. We have a children and families mental health program out of our Wasilla location. And then we also have a recovery residence sober living program in Wasilla. We were asked, and we're exploring the opportunity of telehealth integrated as SUD and behavioral health assessments, outpatient and intensive outpatient treatment. We also offer partial hospitalization outpatient treatment in Wasilla, but that's not possible with telehealth. We totally recognize that telehealth is not for everyone and doesn't encompass all of the needs. But our intent was to take what we've learned offering a mix of telehealth and in-person services in our outpatient Homer programs and use them to assist with any people who may need telehealth outpatient or intensive outpatient substance use disorder treatment from Ketchikan. I know that our CEO has been down in Ketchikan. It was his first trip. He was amazed by your amazing city. I've been down a few times, and he didn't realize how beautiful it is when the sun is out. It was snowing just for him that day. I had warned him there might be rain. I was wrong. And one of the things that we're looking forward to is offering supportive services that are not grant funded, that would be billed through Medicaid or insurance, and kind of provide some of that support and connection when we know that your community is in transition and you have a plan with different providers who are offering some amazing services, and we were hoping that we could provide some of that support.
Any question? Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ketchikan Tribal Business Corporation and Rice.
Good evening again, City Council. This is, I think, the third time that we've had the privilege to speak with you. Like, I'm impressed, Kara, by the presentation. So, but we're going to talk verbally about what our plans are, and I'm going to break it down into four basic components. One is I'm going to talk again about who we are and who our team is. I'm going to talk about what we're going to do and then the facilities. And I'm going to end with summarizing the very thorough report that Delilah presented to you in the packet tonight. Shortly before I walked over here tonight, I walked along Burke 1 and 2, and I'm sure I've seen it before, but for some reason it struck me, maybe because the crowds had dispersed and the boats had left tonight. And I noticed the sculpture that David Rubin had created, the rock. And what struck me about that sculpture was one, just the very impressive likenesses, but secondly, and many people who spoke tonight talked about the community of Ketchikan. That sculpture, as I'm sure all of you recall, have, I think, 5 or 6 individuals. There's an Alaska Native male, an Alaska Native female, there's a logger, there's a miner, and there's a fisherman, and then there's another female, maybe she was destined to work in the cruise ship industry. But what that sculpture tonight represents to me is, again, the community and the diversity of the community of Ketchikan. And what I've heard tonight from the people who have talked about their lived experience, what I've heard tonight from the organizations who are working currently in the communities, such as the Ketchikan Wellness Community, Brittany Pope, and others, is that this indeed, the solution that we're trying to bring about to meet the needs of Ketchikan is not going to be provided by one entity or organization or one individual even. It's going to be a whole of community solution. And KWC is one solution. East Elson is another solution. KIC is yet another solution. The panoply of practitioners and providers who have lived, grown up, come to this community, raised their families, and who are serving the residents of this community diligently and faithfully are another piece of that solution. KIC formed Ketchikan Tribal Business Corporation about 3 years ago. And one of the key mandates that KIC established for KTVC was to develop a wellness and healing center in the community. KTVC is a business that's wholly owned by Ketchikan Indian community. It's based here. It will always be here. The board of directors all live here, most of whom grew up here. It was established as a separate corporation so that we could act independently of KIC, but we do so in a cooperative spirit with KIC. As I mentioned, one of the KTVC's foundational goals is to operate an intensive outpatient MAT-SED clinic serving the entire Ketchikan community. Rise Recovery in Southeast is a nonprofit corporation that was established by KTVC to provide a complementary, culturally based behavioral health program in conjunction with a MAT-SED clinic. RISE's management team has over 100 years of aggregate experience managing and delivering health services. Many of those years of experience are specifically delivering behavioral health services in Alaska and the Pacific Northwest. RISE chose Search as a partner in this endeavor for many reasons. Search, as everyone knows, Southeast Alaska Regional Health Consortium. Search is going to operate our Matt Sudd Clinic in conjunction with RISE and in conjunction with KIC, and we're developing those cooperative agreements now. The Matt Sudd Clinic is going to serve all the residents in the Ketchikan and the surrounding communities. We selected Search because of its successful and extensive experience operating Sudd Clinic operations in other Southeast Alaska communities. These Sudd services will also address related behavioral health and mental illness conditions of our patients. Lisa mentioned the number of the encounter rates that have been experienced in the past by Aquila, and in talking with many practitioners, we're not even beginning to scratch the surface on meeting the needs of this community in those areas. The RISE Search combined operations meet the qualifications as a licensed, credentialed, accredited, experienced, and capable provider of behavioral health services in the community. A little bit about Search and KICs. Search is a nonprofit, native administered health organization and a federally qualified health center, an FQHC. Okay. What does that mean? It means that they are required by their charter to provide health services to native and non-native individuals, which is again one reason why we selected them as a partner, because of that criteria and that experience. Search is the largest healthcare network in Southeast Alaska. It's been serving the communities in Southeast for almost 50 years, covers a 42,000 square mile area. Southeast has a population of approximately 72,000. Search has 22 rural community health centers. It operates 2 critical access hospitals and 2 long-term care facilities. It does this with over 1,500 employees and approximately 125 to 150 medically certified and licensed medical staff. Its current caseload in the behavioral health and mental illness area is about 400 patients annually. Search is accredited through the Joint Commission, and as I mentioned, has approximately 115 employees. The sponsor of RISE and KTBC, KIC, is also accredited by the Joint Commission and has a similarly robust and experienced staff within its healthcare department. All right, what are we going to provide? The combined resources of RISE, Search, and KIC are going to be brought to bear to serve the vitally important behavioral health and related mental illness needs of the Ketchikan community by collaborating with local providers and institutions. Several of those providers have already spoken tonight, and we've been in touch with them and working out cooperative arrangements so that we can begin to provide a solution immediately to Ketchikan. And I think that's vitally important, is to recognize the urgency of the situation. And I know you as a city council, you're hearing from your constituents, you already recognize the urgency of that. RISE and its partner organizations will begin to deliver Sudd services at the Gateway facility effective July 1 through a coordinated transition plan managing existing patient services on a case-by-case basis. The clinical administrative staffing, once we scale up completely, will range in the area of 10 to 20 employees locally and then with auxiliary employees that will coordinate around the community in Southeast. The board of directors of KDVC and RISE were asked by Keela to accept conveyance of the Gateway facilities. The KDVC and RISE board of directors has accepted that conveyance. We're going to begin a renovation and upgrade to the Gateway facility and launch an integrated MAT/SED facility targeted for opening in the fall of 2024. The Gateway facility's layout and design is well suited to providing these much needed services in Ketchikan. The facility renovation, A&E, architectural engineering design concept has been completed. RISE and KDVC will begin moving into the construction costing and sourcing phase soon. Renovation of the main GCHS building, Gateway, is anticipated again to begin in July with the transition of the caseload. We're expecting that the completion, as I mentioned, of the fully functioning MAT/SED facility to be completed in the late summer, fall of 2024. Our resources combined with the organizations are going to allow us to step in quickly and facilitate a swift solution, a part of the solution, to establishing a MAT/SED facility and the related behavioral health services that are associated with that in Ketchikan. Importantly, with no further commitments from the city of Ketchikan. RISE and KDVC will also begin to assess the requirements for bringing the two other buildings, the Gateway Court, otherwise known as the Top of the Hill, and the Peyton Place duplex into serviceability as soon as possible. Our plans are to develop applications and uses for these facilities as resources to augment the delivery of services complementary to the Gateway MAT/SED clinic and to other organizations and institutions that might have need of them. I believe that I saw in your facilities report to the city manager for this, in preparation for this meeting, they're estimating anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million in needed repairs and upgrades to, I believe that's all three of the buildings combined. We believe that's probably going to drift much closer to the higher number than the lower number. When Aquila announced its cessation of operations, RISE, KDVC, working in collaboration with SEARCH and KSC and other local and regional wellness practitioners and organizations, stepped forward to develop an integrated, community-driven mental health and behavioral health network of providers. All right, we're looking forward to adding to that portfolio of providers. This is not going to be a short-term nor an easy panacea. It's going to be a slog. As many of the individuals who have spoken tonight with a lived experience will tell you, recovery never ends. It's a constant process, and there's a lot of back and forth, and it goes on for months and years and decades. And we're here to be a part of that solution and to work with the other providers, both individuals and institutions, to make the community stronger, which is our mandate and part of our charter. We're here to work with the city, to work with the other organizations in this community to improve the wellness and the health of the entirety of Ketchikan. As I mentioned, I wanted to close with just going back to something that Delilah had included in her report to you tonight. The State of Alaska Behavioral Health Division has shared with you and published a core services, or a document that listed the core services that is recommended by the state to achieve a continuum of care. Those are early intervention and engagement services, outpatient services, acute intervention services, and residential and inpatient services. And within each one of those, then it further breaks down about 11 specific components: substance misuse, mental health issues, youth and adolescent care, limited access to services, meaning getting care, to residents, both inpatient and outpatient treatment facilities, and the lack thereof in the community. Access to or lack of access to services, workforce shortages was another concern of the state. The need for integrated care, and I believe someone tonight spoke about the bridge care as someone transitions out of the hospital and into either outpatient or residential treatment. Proactive community awareness and dealing with the stigma of substance use. Developing a needs assessment. I believe several people had talked about that earlier tonight. And then ongoing support for prevention and intervention. And I wanted to point out that RISE and SEARCH in collaboration with KIC are going to address at least 10 out of those 11 subcomponents in the continuum of care. And so we're proud to be, again, a part of this solution and looking forward to working with all of the organizations that are going to be involved. So thank you. And if there's any questions.
Yes. So you have a contractor already to help you with that says they'll be able to do the, well, congratulations to you.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Rise had already engaged for the Cambria property.
So we had a bit of a head start. But and to that point is that we've been engaged with several neighborhoods and communities in the area, working toward a solution for this for months, which is one reason why Aquila reached out to us to begin with.
Anybody else? Delilah, can you explain, so I don't want to put this in, but I think it's important that over the course of the last couple of months, the council had asked for direction as to getting the building back to the city. Can you explain to the community as to why we're now discussing the fact that Aquila's handing the building over to Rise? Because I think it's important that everybody in the community understand why that we were basically kind of ignored in a sense.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm getting a look.
Oh, I can speak from here. And Mitch can correct me anywhere that I'm wrong, but when the city of Ketchikan originally transferred all the Gateway Center for Human Services buildings, which included the parcels, the 3 parcels, the Peyton Place parcel and the 2 buildings up at the Gateway Center, we transferred them to Aquila in order for a nonprofit entity to operate behavioral health and substance use treatment services with those buildings. So the city had been in that business for a while. That decision was made in between 2010 and 2015 to transfer those buildings fully to Aquila with that condition that a nonprofit operate behavioral health and substance abuse treatment services in those facilities. If that doesn't happen, and I'm sorry, let me back up. Within the deed, the conveyance documents was also a provision that it would be Aquila or successor nonprofits. My understanding is the discussion back then was a new nonprofit could be formed in order to provide these services. It may be Aquila. Aquila could be a bridge into another nonprofit, or they could remain the entity operating as such. So there is a provision that Aquila could transfer the buildings to a successor nonprofit, And if they do not, if they cease to provide those services, those buildings would revert. We'd have a right of retake and re-entry, I believe is the correct term, for the city to take the buildings back. So in this process today, when we were notified, the city council was notified that Aquila would be vacating the community on June 30th. We sent a letter in April saying, please send us confirmation that you will transfer those buildings back to us with the conveyance documents so the city could get them back and we would have a work session, or the council could decide what do we do next with the facilities. However, within those conveyance documents, they do have an option to go to another nonprofit in order to utilize the facilities. And then that would, I guess the short way to say it is that would eliminate the reentry reversion to the city of Ketchikan. I'm not sure what those reversion clauses look like for Peace Health, because Peace Health was the original owner of the Car House. I'm assuming it's something similar, that those buildings will revert to Peace Health if they're not transferred to a nonprofit like True North. I don't know if I got anything wrong, but Mitch didn't correct me, or nobody's corrected me.
All right, so, okay, moving on. I thought it should be addressed.
Absolutely.
The conversations we've had for the last couple of months. Next up is Steve Hayburn, adult probation and parole.
Good evening, everybody. I probably should do this person to be heard because I don't have a presentation. But, good evening, my name is Steve Hayburn. On behalf of the Department of Corrections, I'm here to provide its perspective on the mental health needs of our town. I'm the pretrial services supervisor here in Ketchikan and have worked with adult probation for the last 7 years. Through this work, I've seen that our community faces a critical problem. This problem, and almost lack of access to in-person care for mental health and substance abuse treatment. In October last year, Aquila suddenly unexpectedly closed their long-term treatment program. This loss significantly strained demand on already limited local resources. We have seen and continue to see the effects of this. We can attest all the people in the world, but not addressing the underlying causes of criminality accomplishes nothing. Access to local behavioral health and SUD treatment services can make all the difference. This body has the power to reduce recidivism, improve public safety, save money, enhance quality of life, and build a stronger community. Too often, individuals who are struggling with mental health and/or substance abuse to leave their homes and support systems travel long distances to seek the care they need. This not only places a significant burden on the struggling individual and their families, but also hinders their ability to access the critical support they require. Sending these individuals out of our community and away from their support systems to Sitka, Juneau, Anchorage, Wasilla, Fairbanks, or Seattle for treatment, and then expecting them to return to Ketchikan without a positive support system in place is ineffective because it contributes to a cycle of relapse and recidivism. Investing in local behavioral health and SUD services can create a system that supports individuals in their recovery journey, sets them up for long-term success, improves their mental health and physical health, increases the likelihood of long-term recovery, improves relationships with family and friends, improves overall quality of life, and reduces recidivism. Local access to healthcare means more personalized and culturally relevant care. And culturally relevant care is really important in this area. It is time for us to come together as a community and prioritize local access to behavioral health and substance abuse services. We can build a stronger, healthier, brighter, and more resilient community by working to improve access to care. Ketchikan is known as the first city. We should not be the last city to provide access to quality, successful behavioral health and SUD treatment services for our community members. And I want to say also that I've seen a lot of these people come through our offices here tonight, and I've supervised some of these folks, and I've seen their successes of what they've been doing. And I know that a lot of the folks that do have these problems come through our office, and I'm glad to see we tried to play a positive role in their lives. So thank you for listening.
Guess that's it, right? Okay. So then, are we doing the?
We can begin the discussion.
Right. Yeah.
Madam Chair, if council members want to weigh in or if you want a discussion, the reason we left it as an action item, so you made a motion into discussion and that's still relevant. But if you want to give staff direction, you could do so within that motion. But I'm sure right now it's just a lot of information.
Does anyone need a 5-minute break?
I'm gonna say, that might be a good idea.
Okay, 5 minutes. I was about to say court is back in session. Council is back in session. Is there a consensus that we go back in, we go into executive session or we do discussion here at the table?
Executive session first.
Madam Chair, could we just get an explanation from the manager as to why she recommends executive session versus out here currently in the public for the public to hear?
You can absolutely have your discussion here in the public, but if the council wants to discuss any legal strategy or take attorney advice, I would recommend you take that in executive session first, and then you can come out and have an open discussion. But at any time there's strategy involved, I do recommend that you have that in executive session first. Now, if you as a council decide that's okay, we talked about it, we're going to come share that in open session, that's absolutely fine.
Is that what our lawyer recommends?
I think that would be best.
So do I have a motion?
Your Honor, I move the City Council declare that consistent with the city manager's recommendation, it is in the best interest of the city to discuss strategies relative to the re-entry of the Aquila properties formerly owned by the City of Ketchikan. In accordance with that recommendation, the City Council go into executive session pursuant to KMC 2.04.025A1 and A3 to discuss said subjects, the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse impact,
And receive.
to discuss said subjects and receive legal advice within the attorney-client privilege, the immediate knowledge of which would clearly have an adverse impact upon the finances of the city.
Second.
Any discussion? Go ahead.
I just have one quick comment. I think she gave a good explanation and in a legal way, it's probably best, but sometimes I feel like members of the community do want to hear some of it. So respectfully, I will be voting against executive session, but I do appreciate the advice.
Okay, clerk will call the roll.
Gage,
Yes.
Whistler,
Yes.
Zingy,
Yes.
Battani.
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
Gas,
No.
Finnegan.
Yes.
Your Honor. I vote on it.
This is not like the street, right? It's being recorded.
Advice, legal advice from our attorney, and we will continue our discussion.
What she said.
No, you said it. You're recording now. You're on.
So we just returned from our executive session. We've received advice from our attorney and what are we doing now?
We've given
We are
direction.
now returning to our motion on the floor.
So we're
which
gonna
is
return to the motion on the floor in discussion.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I would like to ask the manager on behalf of the community for a couple of things from the folks at Rise, specifically for the Gateway building. I think the community should see a specific detailed list of the exact services that they're going to be providing the community. And that would speak to honoring the covenants of the transfer of the deed from Aquila to Rise. I would like to see a commitment to fix and restore the Gateway building to professional standards. I'd also, on behalf of the community, I'd like to see a commitment from Rise to some sort of periodic reporting and follow-up. I think one of the things with the present or the outgoing provider is the lack of follow-up or the lack of public transparency really left this community in a lurch. So I would, so something maybe the equivalent of the hack for the hospital, but something where this community understands where we're at. So I'd like to have the manager act on that for us, please.
Absolutely. Anybody else? No? Any other motions? Or do we have to close it?
You can close it just by, directions been given to staff.
So direction's been given to staff.
And we'll just vote and
So we did, okay, so
close out the motion.
clerk will call the roll.
Finnegan.
Yes.
Gas.
Yes.
Latani.
Yes.
Gage.
Yes.
Zingy.
Yes.
Kistler.
Yes.
And Flora.
Yes.
Okay, so do I have another motion?
You're gonna do mayor's what's a comment?
Oh, do we?
If you want. If you want, we can do that.
Mayor. Mark?
I have nothing else, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for everyone who came out and spoke and shared all the different things that were shared. I really appreciate it. So,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, ditto. It was very interesting what people had to say, and I love to see the passion in town, in the community, and hopefully with all this passion, we'll keep going and we'll be able to help some people.
Zingy.
Yeah, just to echo what everyone has said so far. I did learn a lot from the presentations this evening. I really appreciate the people who came out and the people who emailed us. And I think we're on a good path now.
Matani.
Yeah, thank you to all the people that came out. Thank you to all the communication that we got. I mean, to see the passion at the podium tells us these services are needed. Hopefully, we come to a point, or we are coming to a point where we will have excellent services for this community, and the services will not fall flat like they did with Aquila. So I'm looking forward to a great path.
Finnegan.
I too would like to thank the people who presented and spoke at the podium tonight, especially those folks who are in recovery, because I think, someone mentioned that everyone is touched by addiction in some way. And I think those folks who share with the public the story of their own recovery goes a long way toward eroding the social stigma that surrounds addiction issues, which so often serves as an obstacle against people finding the kind of help they need. So I think it takes a particular kind of courage, and I'm grateful to those folks for putting faces to the situation, because that's really important. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to express my thanks to everyone, and especially I think there were 20 or 30 emails of individuals who wrote to us, and I wish we had the time to read every single email on that. But thank you for reaching out, and I really appreciate the presentations tonight and those individuals that I know personally that came to the podium to speak. Again, addiction, one way or another, mental health touches all of us at one point or through someone in our lives. And I know firsthand that when we lose our services, it exacerbates our larger problem in our community, in our homeless situation. So with that, I'm grateful that everyone was here, and I expect everyone to keep it up.
Move to adjourn.